Hey everyone, how are you doing? My name is Abigail B. If you're new to my channel, I talk about interior design and I teach you and show you how you can really optimize your space to meet its full potential whilst doing it on a budget, because we're all about attainable luxury over here. Now, on this video, I'm going to be telling you how to design your home like a pro. Now, of course, you may not be a pro, but there are principles that you may want to apply when you are designing and decorating your home so that you can get that elegant, elevated touch. Now, I would say ultimately, and just being biased here, that if you really want to get that optimal feel of your home, then getting into a designer like myself to help you, because there may be spaces that are unfunctional and you wouldn't know how to really try and utilize your space properly, and you're just trying to gather ideas around that, then yeah, definitely get professional help. But yeah, if it's just to really uplift the home, I'm going to share my sense of knowledge with you all so that you can try and meet your goals. So let's get into it. Now, I'm going to talk about design principles. And it can get quite complex because there's a variety of ways of looking at it. There's so many vantage points, and each point can be digressed even further. But to make it quite simple for you, I'm going to be talking about 5 principles, and it's visual interest that we're focusing on here. So that aesthetically pleasing look that you want to gain, how do you do that? By applying design principles. So the 5 I'm going to be talking about today is: number 1, unity; number 2, balance; 3, contrast; 4, scale; and 5, dominance. Okay, so number 1, unity. Now, when we talk about unity, sometimes people think about mix and matching things, and that's not what I mean here. So, like back in the day when you, if I can find a picture, I'll insert it. Back in the day, like the aunties, African aunties I'm talking about here, when they used to go to their parties and everything was literally matching, the hat, the bag, and the shoes. Everything has to be united like a uniform. We're not talking about that, because the matchy doesn't look very good. It looks very busy and it doesn't give any depth to the space. So definitely, if you want to go for a monochromatic look, you can, what I mean by that is that if you like a particular color or 2 types of colors, you can bring it in the space, but don't show too much dominance between them 2. So try and go within the spectrum of the color, add some hues, some whites in there. So just a variation of the color. So there's different shades of it, but it's all kind of working quite well together, and it complements each other when it does that as well. And this is the unity that you're bringing in. There also needs to be kind of some rhythm with the unity as well. So everything is singing to each other and they're all singing the same song. Imagine if you go into a space where everybody's singing their own songs, they're all in different pitches. And different modulations. It just sounds very chaotic. So it's the same thing like with your decor. If you're coming in and that there's no rhythm, and what I mean by that, going into a little bit more, it's like things are not speaking to each other, they're not being cohesive, there's no balance. These words is what you want to try and think about when we are thinking about being united. Everything has to come together. So I've spoken about other videos. If you want to use some design styles that are completely opposite, so like farmhouse, you can't really mix that with Japandi because they are very different. They're singing 2 different songs. Farmhouse is singing country music and Japandi, I don't know, is rap music. I don't know if you can mix those 2. I've never done it and I probably wouldn't recommend because it's very, very complicated. So do you see here, having those 2 elements don't work. And why is that? It's just because of how they are applying their theories. The colors that they would use, the certain designs and patterns and styles are very, very different. So you're just not going to combine them together. So they're not uniformed. So try and have elements in your space that really go well together, and just bring a lot of cohesiveness and complementary to the space. Another one which I like, what goes in with that, is balance. I've just spoken about things, working in harmony with each other and having a rhythm. So when you have balance, for example, if you have a space such as your TV area, or maybe like in your bedroom, you have your bed in the center of the room. the balance would be what's happening on both sides visually. Now, you don't want one side to have predominantly too much stuff. So, I don't know, maybe a plant or some furniture piece there, and then there isn't anything on the other side. That's asymmetry, and sometimes it can look slightly off. It can allow your visual balance to kind of tilt this way, and it just doesn't bring things together. So you don't have to have the same items on both sides, because that is a quite contemporary style of design, and it's fine. You don't have to do that. You can make it quite asymmetry, but there has to be a balance in how it looks and how it's perceived to the eye. So if you have, for example, a tree on one side, maybe have a mirror on the other side, or maybe have like a ladder shelving unit, and maybe on the other side you can have a mirror, or you can have a lamp on the other side. So they don't even have to hold the same weight. It's just so you're giving your eye that balance of things kind of on both sides. And even if it's not looking at you, there can be things in the room. So you don't want to have too many things on one side of the room and then the other side is empty. And there's no intention with that as well. Maybe if there's no window there and it's just like bare walls and just one small unproportionate size furniture and everything's on this side, again, visually it just doesn't work very well. And the balance is not there. So just remember that as well when you're doing things. Just take a picture of your room and just maybe put a line in the middle and just see what's on both sides and how can you kind of move things around to give that visual balance. And I'm telling you, it really does have such a great effect when you do that right. Number 3 is contrast. Now, when we're talking about contrast, and I kind of said it in the beginning, in terms of colors, you can go with the same color, but sometimes just adding in, even if it's the same shade but a different hues of that color, just adds that elements of difference. And that is very, very pleasing to the eye, because if everything is just the same, it looks very flat, there's no depth. And I'm going back to, I like to put like analogies in things so you can understand it a bit better. But it's like if someone's singing and there's no kind of pitch, it's just monotone, or someone's reading a book and it's just like that. Do you know what I mean? It's boring to listen to. Like, you actually would feel like you want to fall asleep. Don't make the space look boring. Bring some visual interest and definitely bring in some contrast. You can even bring in contrast with different furniture pieces or elements. So even if it is a monochromatic space, you can bring in some wood, some natural wood, or you can bring in some metals in there as well, just to add a bit of the difference in there. And yeah, it really does look good doing that, instead of it just looking completely mix and matching, which we really don't like. Doing that really does kind of bring the balance as well. Can you see everything's tying together? It really is. And that is the main concept of that. Now, scale. This is very important. And I've seen a lot of people do this mistake when things are just completely out of scale. Things are not in proportion with each other. And this is when you're buying the furniture pieces, you have to be very careful. Don't buy a small bed and there's just loads of room in your room. If you have like a very, very big room, fair enough, sometimes you don't have a massive bed to fill that space, but then you can maybe divide the room into two and make like intentional spaces within that as well. Same thing with your living room. If you have like a really big living room, I'm not saying get furniture pieces everywhere to fill in that gap. You don't have to do that, but utilize the different spaces. But proportion is so important, because it can go from making your space look very downgraded or making it look smaller than what it is, and allowing too much free-flowing space, or even the opposite, not allowing free-flowing space, can really cause a detriment to your decor. I would say with everything you have, just have it as a third. In design, we always talk about 3. Everything comes into 3. So just remember 3. So have it a third of your space. If you've got a bedroom, normal size, third of your space. Living room, if you're looking for a sofa, third of your space. So dining table, the same thing, a third of your space. So you just want it to feel an adequate amount that still allows you to have other furniture pieces in there and the free flowing space, and it doesn't look clustered and messy, and that will even make it look visually messy as well. So that is what we're trying to avoid here. So yeah, get your measurements right. Don't underestimate and don't overestimate the size of your room. And now, dominance. Now, when we're talking about dominance, because I was literally just now talking about proportion, I'm not saying it, let me word this carefully so that you don't misunderstand. So dominance is not even talking about size. I'm talking about visual dominance. So we want something that's in the room that's going to be quite striking, something that's going to bring significance and just tie everything together. And it's all about the visual space. So we've talked about balance. So as you walk in, there's that kind of balance there. Things are in harmony with each other. They're complementing the space. You know, you've got some contrast in there as well. So it's looking very pleasing, you know, with the textures and the design and the styles. So all of this, you know, the singing, as I spoke about, the choir, everybody's singing in harmony with their different tones. That someone is you. Ain't no... Now, the dominance is when that singer with the big voice and the one that just makes the hair on your skin just jump. That is the dominance that I'm talking about. So that one comes along with this, I can't sing, so I'm not even going to try. But yeah, the same thing with design styles. Bring something in there that's going to bring that wow factor. So it could be an artwork, it could be wallpaper, it could be lighting, it could be a sculpture piece. It literally could be anything that is going to bring in that beautiful finishing touch in that room. And you could even have more than one. It doesn't have to just be one statement piece. In your room, you could have, like, into my living room, you can have a sofa, you can have that statement chair that's very like architectural looking with a beautiful color in there as well. And it really does bring the space together and has that kind of elevated touch as well. So yeah, remember that. Remember the singer that comes in with the amazing voice in your room. Bring in something that's going to be singing praises to how you decorated your room like a pro. Now, I hope I finished that well. I hope you've understood the analogies I wrote in as well. But yeah, definitely apply these theories if you really want to elevate your space and give it that professional look. But if you are still struggling, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, ask for help for someone like myself. I will link my website down below if you do want me to help you and give you some one-to-one support. Make sure you come back to another video. I will always love giving my tips. So yeah, come back to another video or watch my previous ones as well. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment. I will answer questions. I love interacting via YouTube as well. And obviously follow me on Instagram. Now, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was useful. And I will see you next week Sunday. All right, take care. Bye.